Welcome back to the Avert Alzheimer's podcast. I know I've been gone for a long time, and a lot of that just has to do with projects that I've had going on that have just been fulfilling most of my time on top of working a full-time job. But I'm so happy to be back with you. I have tons of podcast topics that I can't wait to get out there for you. And the first one, if you read the title of it, is the two biggest reasons not to live in Alaska if you are predisposed for Alzheimer's. And these two reasons are, in my personal opinion, pretty critical. So I'm going to preface this whole podcast with telling you, if you don't already know, I currently live in Alaska. I lived up here from 2006 to 2012. And then when I left, I met my husband in 2014. And he had been up here with me a few times. And he really wanted to live here for a full year cycle, at least, to see how he liked it, because we both believe that we loved being outside, and we do. But what we don't love is being outside when you have to put 4 layers of clothes on and you're still freezing to death. My husband is born and raised in Southern California. I'm born and raised in North Carolina, and it's just a lot. When I lived up here the first time, I was super active in my life, but I never really did anything outside in the winter. I knew I didn't have any interest in skiing, but he was a skier and he wanted to come up here to ski. And I will tell you, in the 2 years that we have lived here, my husband has skied none. And that's usually the way it works. You vacation to do those things, unless that's already built into who you are. So the other reason that we moved up here, and the primary reason that we moved up here, it just worked out really well, is because one of my very dear friends owns the memory care facility that my mother is living in. And it is a TIPA Snow PAC certified facility, which means that the caregivers have this incredible training and that they are just amazing. And my mother's been there for 2 years now, and she's just, while declining, yes, she's so well taken care of that I couldn't have asked for better. So that is the primary reason that we moved up here. But my husband's finally getting his opportunity to experience Alaska for now 2 years, and he is ready to go. So let me just tell you why it is important, if you are predisposed for Alzheimer's, to consider not living in Alaska. And it really just boils down to 2 things: winter light and summer light. So let's unpack that real quick. This will be a short podcast. All right. So in the winter time, the biggest question that I ever get asked about living up here is it really light for 6 months and dark for 6 months up there? And the answer to that question is no. It's not that way anywhere in the state. I'm not quite sure how that ever came to be a thing that people believed, but no, the answer is no. However, we do have extreme light and dark cycles. So by the time we get to winter solstice, or since we're coming up on summer solstice, by the time we get to summer solstice, which is coming up June 21st, our light cycle is daylight for about 21 hours. And then we have twilight for 3 or 4 hours, which means the sun goes just below the horizon. And then within a couple of hours, it's starting to come back up. That's a pretty extreme light cycle. Now, why is that important? That is important because we need complete darkness for our bodies to produce proper melatonin. And while in our bedroom, we have a complete blackout shade, no light can come through the shade, you still have nooks and crannies where light's getting in. There's still the valance above, but there's a crack. So there's light coming in at the top. There we have a hook that we hook the bottom of the shade into, but there's still cracks at the bottom of the shade where light is coming in. And it's just impossible to get the room pitch black. Now, I'm not so extreme as other people are, where I'm saying, if there's a red light, we have a clock in our room that we're able to set the light really, really low, but we have no cell phones in our room. We have no other light in our room. And then in the summer, we have this light that comes through all night. Well, so the way the light cycle works here is by, I would say, early April, it's still light outside by the time we're ready to go to bed. And we're early to go to bed. We're usually in bed by 9 o'clock. So it's still light outside. It's not terrible, but it's still light. Now we are in, the last few days of May, and we go to sleep and wake up, and it's light outside. So we're not getting that complete darkness that we need in order to produce proper melatonin to get into a good REM sleep. So let's talk about the winter cycle. By December 21st, we are hitting our winter solstice, and that means that we have very short light cycles. So we are sunrise between 11 and 11:30, and sunset between 3:30 and 4 by that day. The problem there is you need sunlight in order to produce the proper in order to get proper sleep. If you're not getting your sunlight, then you can't get the sleep that you need at night as well, which if you followed me for any length of time, you know that sleep is the most important thing when it comes to Alzheimer's prevention. There are 5 pillars that I've created, and if you're curious about those, I will talk to you about those at the end of this. But there are 5 pillars, and the first pillar, the most important pillar, is your sleep. Well, in the wintertime, you're usually not waking up when there's sunlight out because the sun, or you're usually waking up before the sun ever comes up. And if you work, then you never see the sun. By the time you get off work, you don't see the sun. So you have to make it a point to go outside if there's sun, because it snows so much up here in the winter, to actually get that UV. UV is actually really good for you. The idea of wearing sunglasses has been, for whatever reason, the big thing that we've been told we need to do to protect our eyes. We need to put sunscreen on all the time, and that is just completely inaccurate. Your body needs sun. It needs UV. That doesn't mean that you need to go out and get sunburned, because that is how you will get skin cancer. But you do need sunlight. You need direct sunlight in your eyes to help you promote sleep. So if you are here in the winter and you go to bed and you get up and you go to work and you come home and you go to bed and you get up, you never see the sun. And that can be 3 to 4 months out of the year. Then on the weekends, you go outside, but it's so cold, you're in so many layers, you're barely getting any sun to your skin. So sleep here can be really challenging. And if you can't get good sleep, your brain can't repair. If your brain can't repair, it's setting itself up for memory loss. So those are the big 2 reasons that you should never live in Alaska if you're predisposed for Alzheimer's, which everybody can get it, but genetically speaking, only about 75% of the population has one of the variants, and less than 1% of the population has 2 of the variants. So just know your genes, go check them out, and then live your life accordingly so that you never have to worry about it if you choose to live in Alaska. Now, 5 pillars: sleep, fasting, nutrition, exercise, meditation, or mindset. Those are the 5 things that you want to focus on if you are really trying to avoid Alzheimer's. And I would encourage everyone to do so. I have a membership group that talks about all of those pillars, but I also am launching a course that will walk you through how to incorporate all 5 of those pillars into your life slowly, so that you can actually prevent Alzheimer's, because you need to start earlier instead of waiting until you're later in life and the damage is already being done. That is my suggestion to you. If you are interested in that, I will put a link for you below, as well as a little freebie, and hopefully get you started on a prevention journey. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Bye.